What's up, guys? It is Dr. Remy LeBeau, and I'm coming at you from the X Lair. It's late. It's about, It's 1:30 on Thursday night. I believe it is February, like the 4th or something. I just watched WandaVision episode 5. Holy fucking shit. Holy motherfucking shit. Like, Quicksilver from the Fox franchise, played by Evan Peters, has made his MCU debut as Quicksilver. Holy fucking shit. Holy fucking... I mean, I knew this was going to happen. I mean, it was rumored that... I mean, not rumored. It was reported that Evan Peters had been cast for the show. And I heard some people online saying that, okay, he's in the show, but like, he's probably playing somebody else, as though that was likely. And like, in my mind, it was like, what? Like, he's played Quicksilver before. Wanda is his sister in the comics. There's going to be there's a Multiverse Doctor Strange movie coming. There is a rumored multiverse heavy Spider-Man 3 coming, right? It's shooting right now, so it's like very likely that we're going to see the other Spider-Man, and it has not been confirmed though, but it is very likely. Like, we know that what's his name? The guy that played the guy that played Dr. Octopus in Spider-Man 2 is going to be in it. So there's a multiversal... Oh, we saw J. Jonah Jameson at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home from the original Sam Raimi films, which takes place after WandaVision. So like, it was understood there was going to be a multiversal element to this. So you have Evan Peters, who's part of a film franchise, who plays a character who is related to Wanda, and this show is called WandaVision. Fox has been purchased by Disney. That is done now. So they have access to these characters. Of course he's going to be fucking Quicksilver. And to finally see it happen tonight is so fucking satisfying. Like, my mind is going fucking nuts. Like, on the possibilities, because we have still 4 more episodes. So if we have 4 more episodes, that means that these are the things that start popping up in my head. Like, Magneto could fucking pop up. Like, what if she's like, okay, I want to bring my parents back now, right? So she brings back her mom, and her dad is Magneto, and he's played by fucking, from First Class, Days of Future Past, fucking Michael, God, can't get the fucking name. Michael, anyway, the guy that plays Magneto in the Fox films. Like, what if he pops up? But like, it's not... Clearly, like, this is Evan Peters, but this is not Quicksilver from those films. It is a version of Quicksilver that happens to have that look. Unless, because Wanda said, like, by the way, I just watched the episode twice, because, like, I wanted to watch it again right afterwards. Wanda said, when her kids, which are now alive, clearly, were like, didn't you have a brother? Like, where is he or something? I think they might have asked where he is. And she was like, oh, he's very far away. Like, maybe that meant, like, because, I mean, obviously dead is not very far away. Dead is dead. So, unless she meant heaven. But I don't think she meant heaven. I think she meant, like, in other dimensions. So, like, I would have to assume that she's somehow... What they're saying is material, like what Darcy described as sort of like reorganizing matter. What Monica described as reorganizing matter, like, might be her pulling in things from alternate dimensions, not creating things from scratch, not reorganizing matter in our universe, but like sort of replacing like a molecule's like, you know, sibling molecule in alternate dimensions in our dimension, which appears to be creation, but it is really just extraction, then that would mean that when she said he's very far away, that maybe she did mean a different dimension, which then meant that she pulled him, Evan Peters, out of, maybe it is the Fox dimension and he doesn't know it, or maybe it's just the molecules sort of from that dimension brought into this dimension, but without that context. So it's Evan Peters, who is Quicksilver materially in this dimension, but he is a brand new Quicksilver, right? And if that is the case, then she can do the same thing for her mother and her father, which means that we could get Michael Fassbender. Hey, got it, finally. Michael Fassbender be pulled into the show as Magneto in this fucking show by the end of the show, which is like within a month, because we have 4 more episodes. So within a month, we could have Michael Fassbender as Magneto in the MCU, completely disconnected from all the bullshit they did in the Fox films, and give him a proper fucking Magneto storyline and arc that would be legendary. And we have a Magneto that we respect. We have an actor that portrays him in a respectful way, and that ultimately translates into an epic fucking just series of stories with Magneto, which is what he deserves, we deserve, you know what I mean? And if indeed so let's say that she pulls Evan Peters from another dimension to ours, right? Materializing him. And then she does that for her father. So she does that for Magneto. But because I'm going to assume, and this is fucking crazy, but this is what I'm going to assume. I'm going to assume that next week, Evan Peters is going to mention that he's a fucking mutant. And then that she's going to find out about mutants. And then she's going to be like, a whole world of mutants, huh? And they made you feel less alone or something, you know? Like, just sort of like appealing to her need for like family and like more fucking comfort and shit. So then that ultimately leads to her pulling fucking mutants into the MCU's dimension, thus having mutants in there, thus having the X-Men. Because if you have Evan Peters, who's already a mutant and he's aware of being a mutant, therefore he has a history of being a mutant, and she does the same for Magneto, in order for them to exist in the way they do, in order for Magneto to exist in the way that he does, what's a definitive fucking characteristic of Magneto? Xavier. Right? And what's a defining characteristic of Xavier? The X-Men. You know, it's just like the dominoes could fall. I mean, this could all logically lead to exactly what I think all of us have been fucking hoping for. And so I am very fucking excited. And if that's the case, as far as like what's going on behind the scenes, like they were planning this already. Like people are saying, you know, it's like, oh, Kevin Feige didn't want to make any plans until the deal was finalized. But I'm sure he understood when the deal was announced publicly that it was already going to go through. Despite the fact that it needed government oversight, sanctioning, like that, it was probably already a given in like the power circles of the people behind everything that this was going to happen. And so they started planning, of course. And so everything we've been seeing has been part of a much larger plan that we cannot see and we didn't really want to see because we had such a satisfying ending to Endgame, right? Like the Infinity Saga. It was so fucking good. Like just from beginning to end, that whole saga is so perfect. And so like you don't really want to see beyond that because you just kind of want to savor the flavor of this very satisfying thing that was accomplished. But obviously Kevin Feige is like years ahead of us, right? Because he's the one orchestrating this whole thing along with the wonderful team of everybody else involved. And they're all, they're way ahead of us, right? And as far as business goes, the stuff that's going on behind the scenes is never what we know publicly. Like what we know publicly is shit that's already been decided, who knows, maybe years prior, right? Who knows? But like the reality of the situation is like shit has been unfolding for a very fucking long time. And I trust Kevin Feige to be able to do what he knows he himself, the fanboy himself, inside of himself, wants to be done, right? Like, he's not this like executive motherfucker. The first person he is one of us. He's a fanboy. He loves fucking this shit. He grew up with it. It's in his fucking blood. It's in his fucking veins. It's in his fucking molecules. In every fiber of his fucking being. So the guy wants what we want. We want to see a fucking unified Marvel universe where we can see shit like this happen. And we can see shit like Avengers versus X-Men, or just Avengers with the X-Men, you know, Secret Wars, fucking another Infinity Gauntlet type of thing where you actually have X-Men involved, you know, like the things that the comic book universe promises to continue satisfying us with. I'm seeing like this whole King in Black thing happening right now, which is another fucking epic thing. Which is like this whole big fucking thing that's happened because of the symbiote, the Venom symbiote. This one simple thing has now become so big that it's like the big fucking story that's covering the Marvel universe, and everybody's fucking involved, and it's fucking big. X-Men, Avengers, everybody. Spider-Man, Venom, you know, etc., etc. So there is a promise of that sort of scale of storytelling in these now multimedia products, right? Filmic products, not business products, but like artistic products, like the MCU, as films, as television shows. So there's just so much exciting to come. But what this episode has done is basically, to me, establish like we're getting mutants, you know, and Kevin Feige has figured it out, and it looks like this is, like I already said, logically, as far as the way I described it. Here, I think that would easily translate to something successful. So I could totally see that happening. Anyway, just wanted to get some thoughts down. Wanted to get them down quick because I'm very excited about what's happening here. And that's it. I just wanted to check in and say hello. I think it's very fitting for me to jump in now that we're not just talking about the Avengers and the MCU anymore without the X-Men. Like, now we are talking about the MCU with the X-Men. Now we are talking about the MCU with mutants, and I felt that it was time for me to step in and start talking about this shit because, I mean, obviously I'm kind of a fan of the X-Men, one would say. Anyway, I will see you guys maybe next week. Maybe I'll jump on next week. I probably will. I have a feeling, Evans, I have a feeling the word mutant is going to be uttered in the MCU next week. I have a feeling that's going to happen. Anyway, as always, thank you so much for checking out my channel. Hope everybody's doing well. And I want to remind you that if you haven't already, it is time for you to put an X in the box because ain't nobody checking me. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.